Good morning, students. Today we are going to learn about a very important concept in economics is supply. What is supply? Supply means the amount of goods or services that sellers are ready to sell at different price in given time. So, if the price of something increase, seller usually want to sell more of it because they can earn more money. Try to remember this. More price is equal to more supply. Less price is equal to less supply. Let's take an example. Imagine a farmer has wheat. If the price of wheat in the market goes up, the farmer will try to sell more wheat. Why? Because he will earn more money by selling at a higher price. Now tell me, if the price of tomatoes increase in the market, what do you think the farmers will do? Exactly. They will try to supply more tomatoes to the more market. So remember, supply depends on a price and seller always look at what price they can get before they decide how much to sell. Next topic is meaning of law of supply. What is the definition of supply? Other thing being equal, the quantity supplied of a good rises when the price of the good rises and fall when the price falls. This means there is a direct relationship between price and quantity supply. Students, the law of supply help us to understand how sellers behave in the market. The law says when the price goes up, seller will supply more because they can earn more profit. When the price goes down, they will supply less because the profit is lower. So, price and supply move in the same direction. For example, if the price of rice goes up from rupees 30 to 40 per kg, farmer will be happy to sell more rice. But if the price drops to 20, they may sell less or wait for better price. This is why we say higher the price, higher the supply. Lower the price, lower the supply. This rule is called a law of supply. Student, now let's understand the concept of supply schedule using the simple table. A, sim- a supply schedule is a table that shows the relationship between the price of a product and the quantity that seller will willing to supply at those price. Look at this table. When price 10, the quantity supply 100. When price 20, quantity supply 200. When price 30, quantity supply 300. When price 40, quantity supply 400. What do you observe? As the price increase, the quantity supply also increase. This supposed the law of supply, which says that there is a direct relationship between price and supply. For example, when the price is rupees 10, the seller supply 100 unit. But when the price rises 40 rupees, the seller is ready to supply 400 units. So, this table clearly shows how supply increase with an increase in price. This is why sellers respond to price changes. They want to earn more profit. This table is called an individual supply schedule. If it is shown data for one seller and a market supply schedule, if it shows data for all sellers in the market. Student, this slide shows us the supply curve, which is the visual way to understand the law of supply. The graph on the left side is made using the supply schedule we saw earlier, where price increased and the quantity supply also increased. Now, what does the graph shows? The curve is upward sloping from left to right. This means as price increase, the quantity supply also increase. This shows a positive relationship between price and supply. For example, at rupees 10, 100 units are supply. At rupees 20, 200 units are supply, and so on. This upward line or curve is called supply curve. What is the conclusion? The supply curve proves the law of supply. More price, more supply. Less price, less supply. That's why the curve moves upward. It shows seller want to supply more than price go up. The next topic is assumption of law of supply. Students, for the law of supply to work properly, where price and supply have a direct relationship, some condition must remain constant. These are called the assumptions. Let's look at them one by one. First one is no change in technology. The method of production should stay the same. If technology proves supply might increase even without price change. Second one is no change in input price. The cost of raw materials, labor, etc. should remain stable. If input cost increase, supply may fall even if the price is high. Third one is no change in government policies. Taxes, subsidies, or new laws should not change during the period. Sudden policy changes can affect supply. Fourth one is no changes in price of related goods. Price of the other goods that can be produced using the same resources should not change. If they do, producer may shift to more profitable goods. Fifth one is no change in number of sellers. The number of sellers in the market remain the same. If more sellers enter, overall market supply is increased. Okay, student. Now next topic is reasons of direct relationship between price and supply. The first one is profit motive. Sellers want to earn more profit. When the price rises, profit increase. So they are willing to supply more goods. Second one is law of increasing costs. As production increase, the cost of making each additional unit also increase. Higher price helps cover these rising costs, encouraging more supply. Third one is more sellers at higher price. When the prices are high, new seller enter the market because it becomes more profitable. This increase total market supply. These all reasons explain why supply increase when price increase, creating a direct relationship. The next topic is exception to law of supply. Student, the law of supply usually says that supply increases when price increases. But there are some situations where this does not happen. These called are exception. Let's understand them. First one is agricultural goods. Supply depends on weather, not price. Even if the price rises, bad weather can reduce supply. Second one is perishable goods. Items like milk, fruits and vegetables cannot be stored for a long time. Seller must sell quickly even at low prices. Third one is future expectation of price fall. If sellers think prices will fall soon, they may supply more now, even if the current price is low. Fourth one is rare collections or artwork. These items are limited. Even if the price are increased, supply cannot increase because the items are rare. So, in this case, the usual rule of more price is equal to more supply does not apply. Let's understand the difference between movement and shift in the supply curve. First one is movement in supply. This happens only when the price changes. If price increases, supply expands, which means upward movement on the same curve. If price decreases, supply contracts, downward movement on the same curve. Second one is shift in supply. This happens when factors other than price changes like a technology, input cost, government policy, etc. The entire supply curve is shift. Rightwards means more supply, leftwards means less supply. If better technology is introduced, the supply curve shifted to the right, which means more supply at same price. If input cost increased, the curve shifted to the left, which means less supply at same price. Student, Let's conclude what we learned today. First one is the law of supply explain how supplier increase or decrease the quantity supply in response to price changes. Second one is it is one of the basic principle of economics that help us understand how market work. Third one is this concept is important for producer, which means to decide production level. Second one is government to make policies. Third one is consumer to understand price and availability of goods. Okay, student. Now I will give you some questions. You write down and bring them tomorrow. First one is what does the law of supply explain? Second one is why is the law of supply important for producers? Third one is name any two stakeholder who benefit from understanding the law of supply. Fourth one is what happens to the quantity supplied when price increase. Fifth one is how is the law of supply useful in real life? Okay, student, did you understand what was learned today? We will do a recap in the next lecture. Thank you.